Hey guys, I'm doing another Metro video, specifically like a Metro dev video, a little bit earlier than I normally would. I feel like I do one every like 1 or 2 weeks, but there's a couple of things that have been going down over the last few days now that I figured I will talk about. There are some kind of like, I guess, disappointing things, some great things, and then some other things in between. I want to talk about kind of everything. So, first things first, at the moment, there have been a couple of comments from the last couple Metro videos I've made asking where the server is. And the main server, the Metro 2035 server that I was playing on, has kind of paused all Metro stuff for right now in favor of Stalker. So they've moved over to a Stalker server. Um, and that was something that the owner had talked to me about like the day before, kind of making the announcement and like the vote and everything. So I kind of knew it was coming. Still disappointing that like my mod, or at least my pack at the time, was considered like not finished enough, or at least there wasn't enough content. Um, but there's a lot of stuff that I've been working on over the last couple of days. A couple of us have actually started our own Metro server. So in the description, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post two links. One is going to be to my Discord, which is Royal Tomatoes Garden. And that one is basically where everyone is kind of at the moment. But there's also a Metro Ascension Discord, which is going to have all the information about that server. It's a relatively low population server. We got the slots for 80 people. We don't know if it's going to be super popular. There's already like 30 or 40 people in there. I had like almost, I think, 80 people, it feels like, join my Discord today. Like, I've hit, I think, 200. When this video comes out, I'll probably be at like almost an even 200 in my Discord, which is kind of crazy to think about. But just be aware of that when you see the two links. There's Royal Tomatoes Garden, and then there's Metro Ascension. They're kind of the same server right now. People are in both of them. So if you're not totally committed to Metro, you can join my server. If you are committed to Metro, if you want to play that content, move over to the Metro Ascension server. I'm one of the co-owners there. You'll see someone in there named Tickler Tom. He's the other co-owner. He's actually the one who bought the server, and he's getting that all set up. So give him a shout out if you do happen to hop in there. There's a lot of plans. Right now, we've run into a bit of an issue, so the back end is kind of messed up. For whatever reason, we are receiving a JIP error every time we try and start the server up with my map and with its list of dependencies. So we're thinking we might know the solution. I've already published the new update as of this video coming out. If that doesn't work, I might just completely disable all dependencies, which would be a bit of a shame because a lot of content that I've made in here will break if I do that. But on the good side of things, over the last couple of days, I have learned how to do rigging in Blender. I know how to get objects into Infusion that have been rigged with a skeleton. I also was taught really in depth how to use Substance Painter, so I know how to texture objects as well. So in the chance that I need to offload a lot of dependencies and I lose armor and things like that, I have ways of getting it back now. So I'm very excited about that. But anyways, besides all of that, all of the kind of disappointing stuff, the server issues with the map not working right now, I want to kind of talk about some of the good things because there's been a lot of cool stuff that's been happening. So one of the biggest roadblocks that we ran into was, well, initially, actually, the reason why the original Metro 2035 server kind of died was just a lack of content. And I think I mentioned that in one of my other videos. There wasn't a whole lot happening, so I took up a lot of modding. Not really any modeling. Sometimes I'll get a model, I'll put it into Blender, and I'll do little touch-ups. I know how to do that, but when it comes to actually sculpting something, I'm not too good at it. But getting those things set up, rigging, like I said, texturing it, getting it into Infusion, doing the configs on it for like armor, things like storage space, all that kind of stuff. I can do that no problem. So I've spent a lot of time kind of working on that. But I think what kind of pushed the server over the edge was before I say what I'm going to say, I don't want to call anyone out because it's not their fault. It's just kind of an oversight. It was a bit of a mistake. But the person who created the core faction mod for Metro, he has his own server for Fallout in Arma Reforger. Sorry, brain fog there. My God, Jesus. In Arma Reforger, he has his own Fallout server, and what he did was he basically repurposed the mod and just changed like the images and the faction names and everything to Fallout specific factions, and then he published it. Probably because the Metro server wasn't really popping off at that point, so like, how could he have sat there and thought like that? People were still using it, and it killed a lot of the server for the Metro side because I had it set as a dependency, and when that broke, everything was messed up. None of the factions worked properly, which means all of the arsenals didn't work properly, radios didn't work properly. It was a mess, which was fine because I told the Metro people that I could just build my own core mod, which I did. I learned how to do it, watched a couple videos, talked to some people. I also read some documentation, and I have been able to create my core mod. So it's not really super pretty. I have the logos of all the factions right here. And I have it all registered. One of the problems I've run into is if I go into my entity browser, they don't show up with my factions. I think I know how to fix that. There's like a base or editable entity file that I'm going to talk a little bit about in just a second. But I think I can go in there and add the factions over here, because right now I can't filter by them, which kind of sucks. But if I know what kind of system I'm looking for example, like spawns, what I just have to look out for is all of the modded factions are at the bottom of the list. So even though I can't look for them, they're all still available in the entity browser with their spawns, so I'm not too pressed about it. I was a bit of a doomer earlier, though. The person who had replaced the Metro mods with the Fallout mods, he actually messaged me and he gave me a Google Doc with pretty much a backup of all of the Metro faction files for the mod, which was super cool. And me, probably being the fool I am, grabbed his editable entity config file and I dragged it just into the core folder for this project right here. And I don't know if it just didn't translate correctly, but it basically overwrote the actual editable config file for like the vanilla game in my mod. It overwrote it, and then it just kind of wiped everything. So when I went into this entity browser, none of these icons existed. There was nothing on the right hand side I could search for. I couldn't see anything at all. And what was even weirder is I went back to try and delete the folder and the files that were in that mod, and I couldn't because I kept getting messages saying they were invalid headers, and Windows just couldn't like detect it because Windows, it just doesn't want to be good sometimes. So I was freaking out because a massive core config file was now broken, and I couldn't undo it because when I tried to undo it or when I tried to delete it in Infusion said, no, this file doesn't exist. There's nothing here. It's already been removed. But I'm looking at it overriding the actual file. And for some reason, I could see the original file, so I would duplicate it or override it with my own settings, which typically, for those who don't know, what that means is if you're like inheriting or duplicating or overriding, whatever, if you are taking the vanilla config file and you are like manipulating it in any kind of way, typically what should happen is it prioritizes that one. Like pretty much when you work on it, it just kind of, I'm using air quotations, it adds it to the file that you're working on. So when you open up your in-game window like this, you have like all of your vanilla settings, and then you have the things you put in, assuming you didn't just outright replace them, which is something you can do, but I personally like to just build onto the vanilla stuff, just so if I need to do anything in game or if there's any problems with my mods, there's always that vanilla file that still exists with the information, things like factions, US faction, USSR faction. I don't touch those because I think if I do something stupid and break all of my factions, there's at least a couple vanilla factions that are playable. But yeah, that new file that I dragged in just completely locked everything down, couldn't access anything. I went through the Arma workshop because when you put it into your add-ons, it uploads it like locally back onto the workshop for you. So I went in there to delete it. It let me delete it. However, I went back into the folder and it was still there with the invalid header error I was getting. So after like 20 or 30 minutes of just like going through just different ways of deleting it, like running administrator mode, safe mode, and everything, I had to go into the command prompt and like go through the command lines to find it, to basically just nuke the folder and everything inside of it. So I did that. I just nuked every folder with any remnants of that mod, and everything's back now. So we're cooking. We're good. So that was probably the biggest roadblock for me. I'm still trying to figure out if my map is going to work for Tom. He's been stressing over it a lot. Basically, what I've done is removed RHS as a dependency just in case. I don't know if maybe like you load RHS into a map, it causes issues. I don't really know. But I've removed it, and I'm hoping for the best. A couple other cool things I worked on have not actually been related to the map. It's been like items. So in my last video, I did show off some of the clothing options that I've been working on. But let's see, if I just drop this and I grab like an AK, this is gonna be important to us because what I can do is I can customize my guy with some of the clothing that I've made. You can take his clothes off there. So I drag over here, and I can grab maybe like this winter uniform with this armor like that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then if I go over here, in some of these boxes, I noticed in the other one there, I forgot to put these. So I will fix that. I have made shields. So I was curious what I could do with like my own like mods, my own items. And I have figured that I can make shields. So with the AK specifically, I figured like what could I do to do like a cool little like kind of way to protect yourself if you're not like a heavy person, if you're not like a juggernaut or anything in the server. And I figured I could get like an old riot shield model or something and replace a bayonet and then just put a collider on it, so when you're aiming you can't get hit like in your head necessarily. And it works actually so much better than I thought it would. So you hold your gun down like that, you raise it up, you can aim through, and you can actually melee with it because it is still technically a bayonet, so it's like you're just bashing someone with it. I think this shield looks so cool though. The people in the server seem to be really big fans of this, and it works pretty well. Obviously, there's this big kind of opening in the middle, so you're not super invincible. One round through here is like lined perfectly to smoke you in your throat, so you still gotta be careful, but I just think that's so cool. The other shield is a full-on riot shield, which goes into the pistol slot. So if I switch to that, you'll notice the shield back there is kind of funny right now. People, I'm hoping, will just kind of take it off when they're not using it. But this is the riot shield. You can see it's kind of janky because I'm literally holding it like a pistol, but I don't really care that much because I think this is super cool. It's massive shield. You can punch someone, of course, with it because it is a pistol. But yeah, a couple of these big shields. With some of the other like armor options, they're just kind of reskin versions of other mods, like this Spartan Ranger heavy plate that I'm wearing. It's just a reskin of the Redline armor from Scorch's heavy armor pack. The one other item that I was working on was the Spartan Ranger helmet. So this is something that obviously the Spartan Rangers have wanted. It's an iconic object. So I made it. Now, keep in mind, I didn't 3D model the whole thing. I was given a rough model, and then I was able to patch it up and fix it in some areas. And then I weight painted it, rigged it, and then put it into Substance Painter, and I textured it myself. And I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, it's the scale is okay, but this helmet, as simple as it is, this small little achievement, I think is just a really huge thing for me, because it means that the concept of rigging and like knowing how to do it isn't actually that bad. I've been playing around for a few hours now with rigging. I have a dark one model that I've been adjusting. It is a bit of a baby dark one, so it's like normal man size. But what I'm doing right now is I'm adjusting all of its limbs. So things like its hands and its feet will sit over top perfectly of the model's hands and feet, like the character that goes into Arma. And it's going to work so well. In some of the kind of early basic rigging tests that I was doing with dark ones, I was able to put on the jumpsuit and I was going like for just full sprints with it. I was running around, jumping around. The only problem was the little fingers here and there were a little bit wobbly, and like the feet were visible. So basically what I'm just doing is scaling the feet up and then building some faces around it. And then I'm just going to attach it back to its leg. And then we're going to hope that when we weight paint it, rig it, bring it into Arma here, it's going to work. If it does, I'm going to bring it into Substance Painter, and I'm going to make some really, really cool Dark Ones models. I've also been playing around with setting up like AI groups, so I think I know how to actually create like Dark One AI, which again is going to be amazing. Couple other things I'm going to be working on will be creating like low capacity magazines for civilians, for survivors, because a big piece of criticism in the last server, which I'm sure some of you might know who are in here watching right now, is civilians couldn't save anything. So they were given like maybe a crappy gun, and then they were told just to go out and find stuff. And if they were lucky, they would find something. And then if they weren't lucky, they don't find something, or they do and they die immediately after. So I don't have any like real saving system set up because I don't want civilians just like saving LMGs and snipers. That's kind of weird. So my compromise right now is they will be able to save in these arsenals, but they're going to be restricted only to what comes out of the arsenal for the survivors, which will be an AK with a 10 round mag. So I'm going to be able to create a custom mag, so there's only 10 in it. That's what they can use. Now keep in mind, if they find a 30 round mag out in the metro, they can use it. So I think that's a decent enough compromise for them. I am also playing around with like loot spawners, shops, and things, but I don't want to implement too much of that just yet until we can get the server going. So I'm definitely gonna make more videos, obviously, doing stuff in the server. We're hoping we can get it sorted out within the next day or two, because I think it's gonna be really, really fun. We have a lot of cool stuff set up. We have a lot of cool plans for like operations, just little missions, events, and stuff like that. So very, very excited. Couple roadblocks, a lot of good things, but a lot of just kind of bummers, like with the map kind of being iffy right now. So the future is cautiously bright. But that's about it. I want to keep this short and sweet, just a really simple video, just kind of talking about some stuff with Metro. This channel, I feel like at this point, has kind of just become like a digital diary where I just talk about things that I'm working on at the moment, things that are concerning me and whatnot. So if you're still sitting here right now watching this, I appreciate you. And I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, good night, whenever you're watching this. And I'll talk to you later. See ya.